Hi Big Lap Bible, we're Dennis and Rahel, and you can find us on Insta under 76 tracks. We're currently traveling full-time for about 3 months of a year, kind of around work. We try to get away over winter because I'm from Vic and Dennis is from New South, so it gets pretty cold down there. And yeah, obviously just travel together. So we currently aim to travel for about 3 months of the year around work. So an agency midwife, so I travel for work and kind of pick up contracts as I kind of like, so it kind of works well with that lifestyle.
I guess we're like a part-time travel, but we do it for full-time sections, I suppose. Like this one's 3 months. We did something similar last year and kind of aim to travel for 3 months a year. I try to travel around with my work and stuff, so I drive in, drive out, FIFO sort of stuff, mining all over Australia, and yeah, so we just try to create that work-life balance between us, I think, is what we're aiming for.
We decided to do a big lap because we've both done a bit of travel overseas but hadn't actually seen that much of our own country. So yeah, that's pretty much why we decided to head off, and like obviously with the restrictions and stuff that have been in place for like the last 2-3 years, we figured we'd make the most of having a look around. So we're currently in the beautiful Esperance. This is the end of our trip. So we left from New South, pretty much just spent a couple like long days driving, getting up to Kununurra, up through Alice, through the centre. Went along Gibb River Road, Broome, and then we pretty much just followed the coast all the way down to where we are now. So the plan from here is shoot across the Nullarbor next couple of days, get back
to reality. I've got a bit of a job coming up that we have at home, and that happens every year, so yeah, can't really miss it, I guess. But in total, like last year, we did a trip all the way up to Cape York and along the east coast, and bit up through Darwin and that as well, so we've covered most of the country now. Yeah. So as you'll see in the video coming, like our setup is a pretty mobile sort of setup. We don't tow anything with us. Got the 76 Series LandCruiser, which is quite a nice compact car to do this sort of travel in. We've got a rooftop tent and just a big awning. We're all about the quick getaway really, so we can pack up we can set up in under 5 minutes and pack up in a couple of minutes longer than what it took to set up.
So when we're traveling, we generally try and stay in free camps, caravan parks. We mainly just stay there, just do some washing and use the showers.
This trip alone, I think we stayed at 2 caravan parks.
Like one.
Yeah, you know, I mean a few stations and that as well, I guess. But the way we like to camp, it's we like to get into the spots where no one else can, so try to squash up the small tracks where no one's going to tow their caravan. And
best camping spot, that's a hard one. There's been so many.
I don't think you can really pick a best camping spot for anywhere in Australia. Like each state has their own best features, I think.
Some of our highlights, I'd probably say Fraser Island. Loved Fraser. That was fantastic.
I really like the west coast. It's very pretty over that side. The east coast is definitely just for fishing and that sort of thing. If you're going to go to Fraser, I'd recommend
like the east side of Fraser. West side of Fraser.
West side of Fraser, yeah.
And you get nice sunsets.
Yeah. For me, I really liked it around Steep Point. We stayed at a camp called Kels 1. It was really good. You drove in and you got your own little private road and your own beach and a nice open spot that you could just fish off the rocks there. And it's probably some of the best fishing we've had all trip too. Called, coral trout and snapper and flathead and all in the one sort of thing. And we had fish for a couple of days, which was good. So.
And otherwise, like Dampier. Dampier was beautiful.
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
Really nice.
Stunning spot. Place that we wouldn't go back to. Sort of hard to say. I've been to a lot of places around the country, and there's not many I wouldn't go back to, I guess. But for me, I think maybe the Gibb River Road, I thought it was a bit overrated on some of it. Like, don't get me wrong, the gorges are very beautiful and the walk's really nice, but we did the whole road over a week. Some might see it as a bit rushed, but to me, I think a week and all of that was probably enough for me. But in saying that, I do want to go back up that way to Columbaroo because it was closed off at the moment because of COVID. But it's one of the to-do things on my to-do list. It was recommended by a friend that lived up this way for a long time, and he said if I do anything, that's the place I've got to go, and we couldn't get there. So I'm going to have to go back to the Gibb River Road at some point to cover those areas.
As with the last question, best place we've been, it's a hard one.
I can't really answer it. There's too many good ones.
Yeah, but
There's a lot of bad ones.
Love the Dampier. Just the colours up there are amazing, and the beach, and the weather was a little bit average when we were there. A bit windy, but it's beautiful. And we're in Esperance at the moment, and Esperance is also amazing. Yeah, and you quite like Shark Bay for the fishing.
Oh, Shark Bay was good. We caught a lot of fish
nice.
there. And, it was pretty easily accessible, and it's a nice spot. That Francis Barone is nice, and
The National Park.
Yeah, and then like I said before, the west side on Steep Point side as well, like very nice over there. Good fishing and pretty spot as well.
And the whole area, like along Coral Bay to like Nillingaloo and Exmouth, it's also very nice. We are both very excited to do Tassie, hopefully next year sometime. So very high up on the bucket list.
I'm going to say early next year. I think like January, February. Even if we can get over there for a couple of weeks, it's the last state that I've got to do to cover all bases in Australia. So got to get it done. So a scary story when we were.
I think it's a funny story, not a scary story.
Yeah, I'm sorry, a funny story. It was scary for me. So when we were up along the east coast, I think it was like Middle Creek or a bit higher above Cairns. I was just fishing in a creek there, and it was a bit slippery. And I was on the phone to my brother, and at the time I had the phone under one ear and the rod in the other, and all of a sudden my hat blew off in the wind, and it fell over. It was down sitting in the river, and then I've gone to chase it, and I've fallen over. The phone's launched 10 metres that way, and I'm sliding down this bit of, it was far enough, it was windy, and I'm sliding down this mud, and at the same time I'm panicking, getting my getting my phone out of the water, and then I'm getting my hat out of the water, and I'm also worried about crocodiles as well, because being from New South, we don't know that crocodiles don't exist there, and there was a lot of panic for me, so I think it was scary. And this whole time Rahel was sitting there on the side of the creek there.
It was pretty funny.
In good safety. Watching this all unfold.
It was pretty funny from my end.
I think the most I got was, "Are you okay?" But other than that, yeah, I sorted myself out. A scary story, I guess, is probably around Robe. There was probably some of the softest beaches I've ever driven on, and we were looking for our campground and following the wrong road. And, we were driving along, the tyres were let down and everything, and we went up and I sort of backed down the hill a bit because we decided to turn around, and as soon as I did, I just sank, and the tide was coming in. It would have only been maybe 2 metres from the car at best, and it was quite an aggressive tide, and if anyone knows the beaches down at Robe, they're quite steep. There was a little bit of panic going on and a bit of stress, but the tracks were off the roof very quickly, and as soon as we got moving, it was launched from there, and I left Rahel probably maybe 50, maybe even 100 metres back in the distance, so she had to catch up because I wasn't stopping again in that sand.
An item that we can't live without, I'd have to say the jet boil.
Apparently fishing rods weren't an answer, but yeah.
No, they're not.
The jet boil, we use it every day. Rahel's like, if I'm not in the mood to cook anything, she'll make gnocchi, pastas, rice,
everything.
Anything. She can make so many quick dishes,
especially when it's windy,
in the jet boil,
and you don't want to get the whole cooker out and everything and not get sand all through your food. So it's been really handy for that. And the other thing we would say is the tyre pressure monitor.
Oh yeah, the tyre pressure
has
monitor,
also
from my
been-
point of view, is probably something I use it every day. They're quite accurate for a $50 thing that you buy off eBay or whatever. Really good for keeping track of your tyre pressures on, you know, a lot of corrugation, sand, any of the driving we've done, and even when we've gotten a flat tyre or something like that, it beeps and tells you straight away, you know, something's happening, so it's good. I didn't save specifically for this trip. It was just sort of like our trip last year to Cape York. It was just sort of, I want to leave to go to Cape York by this date. Let's go, and that's sort of how it started. And then same with this thing as well. We just thought, well, we're not going to hang around home for winter. It snows pretty close to home, and I grew up with that and had enough of the cold weather. So I think it's a pretty good way to be.
And I think with our work, we don't have a house or anything. We travel, so have accommodation when we're working. So I think that definitely helps, not having a mortgage to pay while we're on the road.
Yeah.
We don't work while we're traveling. You can actually live on the road pretty cheap, like free camping, and we don't do a lot of touristy kind of activities or anything like that as well, and cook a lot of our own food. We generally only tend to go out for meals when we're in bigger cities.
Western Australia has been more expensive than other places I've travelled though, like the whole West Coast. Their free camping, I guess, or national parks camping costs you pretty much as what a caravan park would cost you anywhere else. You know, there's definitely no free camps.
Well, not as many.
Definitely not as many for hundreds of kilometres between. So
apart from like roadside, like gravel pits and stuff. But our biggest expense is always fuel, especially this year with the prices being a bit higher than what they were last year.
But in saying that, we haven't, like, we've covered almost the same amount of kilometres as we did last year, and you know, we've probably spent nearly $1,000 more, I think, in total over the whole trip. So it has increased a lot. That is a big jump over a year, but I don't think it is as an amount to stop us from being able to do this, I guess.
Something that we know now that we didn't know before we left, I would probably go with free camps. I didn't think I would enjoy free camping anywhere near as much as I have, and thought we'd stay at a lot more caravan parks. So
yeah, she does everything we can to avoid caravan parks.
Yeah, free camps are...
Another thing is things like mapping and wiki camps and stuff like that will show you the distance to something, to a point of interest in a direct line, not necessarily how long it's going to take to get there.
Learned that a couple times.
Yeah.
And then we need to do more than one lap, because like even though we've pretty much done most of one lap over the last 2 trips, there's still so much that we haven't seen. And like you get to a point, like even with Gig River, we skipped a few of the gorges towards the end of it just because you kind of get over walking and you miss the beach, and
we're pretty gorged out by the end of it. Like you do so many gorge walks a day. But yeah, like I definitely can see ourselves doing a couple of laps. There's definitely no way that we've covered all the ground that we want to in these couple of trips. So I can definitely see ourselves exploring more of the country that way, and maybe doing a few more of the inland tracks as next as well to get to the points as well. Our favourite thing about travelling is, I guess I like the freedom. Not working would probably be my biggest thing. Even though it never seems to escape me, you sort of try to move around and the phone's always going or something like that. So, but a bit of the freedom is probably the thing I appreciate most about travelling.
And just not having any plans. Like we kind of have a rough idea of where we want to get in a certain amount of time with the way our trips work, but we don't really book anything apart from places that you have to book, like around Exmouth and stuff. We booked that a little bit in advance. But yeah, so that's probably one of my favourite things, is just like waking up in the morning and deciding where you want to go that day and what you want to do, and not having to look at the clock.
I mean, apart from the setup on the car, that was quite a bit in that, I guess, but I think maybe slowing down over the speed limit. Like, so I find, especially in the Northern Territory, when you're doing 130 kilometres an hour for 10 hours, you use so much fuel. and then even doing 110s and everything everywhere else, you use a lot more. Whereas if you drop it back to around that 100 Ks, we actually save quite a lot of fuel.
Which adds up when you're doing weeks of travel.
Yeah, we calculated some numbers and it's way more than what we thought it would be. I don't know if it's worth mentioning in the video, but yeah.
Send us a message if you want to know more.
Yeah, you can definitely save a lot of money on fuel with a Land Cruiser if you're willing to travel less than 100 K an hour. But I guess I get a bit impatient as well with the time, so.
Yeah, and otherwise, probably a combination in the city. When we're in the bigger cities, we try and get out of the tent for a few nights, and that can.
Yeah, it's nice to stop and clean everything out and actually refresh to go back to a bed for a couple of nights. I think maybe 2 or 3 nights in a bed every 2 months is pretty good. So
yeah, it's a splurge, but well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So things that we don't use that we purchased, I guess, was the fire pit. We bought a fire pit before our trip last year, and because I was told that you have to have it everywhere you want to have a fire. That's not true. There's a lot of places you can go where you can just dig a hole and have a good fire going, and a lot of the time if it's a bit windy or whatever, you don't need it. We're quite happy not to have a fire some nights, but I guess other people might want to have it every night, but that's something that we think we haven't used
and left behind on this trip this year.
We have left it behind, except for one piece of it. We use one piece of it for that fire pit. We use it as a pizza hot plate in the barbecue. So we do use that every now and then, and it is nice to have pizza.
But everything else we pretty much used trial and error from last year. So we kind of sorted it out for this trip this year.
Okay, with the lockdowns affecting us, last year we managed to dodge it all the way, I guess. We're always a step ahead of it, luckily, even when we got into the Northern Territory. But we were on our way to South Australia, and I was supposed to go to a job there, and there was one case in the Northern Territory, and South Australia pretty much locked us out, and so unfortunately I had to cancel that job and keep travelling for an extra month. So if anything, it probably worked in our favour in one way.
And this year hasn't really affected us at all, so
yeah,
we're pretty happy to get over to West Australia and have a look around here, which we weren't able to do last year. So
travel-wise hasn't affected us so much, but with our personal lives and work, it definitely does jumble us around a bit.
If we had any advice, I would say don't try and drive when you're hungry. I have a bag of snacks in the front seat.
Footwell of the front seat.
So
yeah, any arguments usually stems from
not eating.
Yeah.
So snacks, good idea.
Another one is probably the maps. Rahel loves maps, so we've got HEMA maps, wiki camps. She's got
I've got paper maps because we've used all of them, and Google Maps.
Yeah.
In different areas that we go. So
it is good having on paper as well. I think she's convinced me a little bit. Yeah, I didn't think it was a useful thing to have in the car, but she's proved me wrong.
Yeah, it has the kilometres and distances and stuff, which is handy when you're not sure how much fuel you have.
And in
left.
saying that, she is all over all the maps. I just drive to where we go.
Yeah. And also I'd say make your own opinion about places, because times of year, when you're there, the weather, who you're with, campsite, the other people that are around, everything influences your opinion of a place.
Yeah. There's definitely some places that people would say, you can't miss this, and to me it might be somewhere I've already been.
Yeah, and haven't really enjoyed that much, and we've enjoyed other places more. So definitely, and don't go off Instagram.
Instagram's a trap, yeah.
Make your own opinions about places, and don't try and see everything, which I think we have done a bit more this year.
Yeah, like I said, we'll do another lap. I think there's definitely a lot more that we can see in places we would stay at for more than we did. Some nights we were in a place for one night when we should have been there for 5, and other places we were there for 2 nights or 3 nights when we should have only been there for an overnighter. So yeah, I guess these couple of trips we're doing are just to gauge the areas, and then we'll come back and focus more. It's my 2015 76 Series LandCruiser I bought back in 2018 with 46,000 Ks, so I've had this car for quite a while, and most of the modifications I've done to it myself, apart from the bull bar that it came with, which is a TJM bull bar, which has been great. It hit a few things and never dented, I suppose. Early on in the build, the oil catch can. I'm one of the people that think that they're a good thing for the car and separates the thing. It's had the EGR delete done it. I've got the secondary fuel filter over here, which is a diesel doctor or the performance ones. Also I run dual batteries under the bonnet, which charges off the alternator, as well as a solar panel on the roof. The biggest problem I've had with dual batteries under the bonnet, I find, is the largest capacity I have is 110 amp hours. Lithium seems to be coming a long way these days, and I reckon you can get a lot more out of it, but for now this is what we've got. But it seems to manage fine running 2 fridges and charging all our accessories, laptops and all that sort of stuff. But we do find if we are settled in one spot for more than a few days and there's no sunlight around, we do notice the batteries do charge to drop. The oil filter, the air filter as well, I run a unifilter oil foam filter. Find they're a lot better for the dust, especially on some of the roads. We've never had any dust on the engine side of the filter. I think it's a great way, and it's easy to clean and refilter while you're on the road. I keep most basic spares in the tool bag, so any problems we come across I've managed to get on top of. So on the front with the TJM bar, I actually have the worn winch, which has been good. We have had to use it a couple of times, especially trying to help other people get unstuck. I did have a King's one on it originally that was with it, and it failed on me when I did need it. It's got the aluminium bash plates under the car. Tried to reduce the weight as much as you can by using aluminium. X-ray spotlights, I believe they're from like BCF or something like that. They're on the car when I got it. And I've got the steady 51-inch light bar on the roof. If you are wondering about the cable ties on the number plate, I've lost my number plate on a water crossing before. I did tell myself I was going to bolt it down a bit better before we left, and I never did. So cable ties was the next best thing. The other thing I can recommend if you're going to do a lot of water crossings is just take it off and sit in the front windscreen. That's allowed in a lot of places. With this, it's just a basic four-wheel drive. We don't have dip locks or anything like that. There are times that it probably would have been handy. Always run the BF Goodrich 33-inch tyres. Never had any real dramas with them. I've tried a lot of different tyres over the years and always seem to be going back to them. They're 285, 75, 16. Scrap bars, I can't remember what brand they are, to be honest. I just made them fit. Run the Safari Armax snorkel, so it's got plenty of air going into it. And we've had water coming up over, halfway up the windscreen, and never found any water in the air filter, so pretty happy with that. It's got running about the 2 aerials. One's just for the UHF and the other one is for the Self-Fly Go phone booster, which I do find works well in a lot of areas, but I'm finding that somewhere where it's a bit more hilly, it seems to have a bit more trouble picking it up. But anywhere out in the open flats, it's great. Like, I take a lot of work calls while we're traveling, and I got sick of it dropping out basically, and that did stop a lot of the issues. This is just the shower awning that we use on the side. We want a bit of privacy. We run in conjunction with a hot water setup that we got. Bush Company Alpha tent, which we bought a couple of years ago now, and it's just set on 4, I think they're Tracklander load bars and Alu-cab load bars. Rated 200 kilos on the roof, and always been pretty happy with the way the Alpha's been. Like, we jump in and out of it, it's run into trees, brushed up against trees, other cars, and still in really good condition. It's the unique 4x4 rear bar. It's been really good. It was simple enough to fit for 2 guys. I do most of the modifications myself and carry 2 spares. As I run a different offset on the rear, but if you ever got stuck, you could always just run one. But in my case, I have been stuck and had 2 flats on the road, so it's definitely something I see as essential. The gas bottle, I use the front runner gas bottle mount and holder. I just welded up a bit of a bracket to the middle of the spare wheel, and we just run an extra strap through the bottom of it just for a bit of extra security. Some of them corrugations, they jumps around a fair bit. Under the car we actually have 50 litres of water and 265 litres of diesel. So the main tank holds 180 litres and the auxiliary tank is 85. Finding it's good being able to carry that much fuel, especially the way the fuel prices are these days. It's been, you know, brilliant. Really happy with the long range of fuel tanks under the bottom. The water pump as well, we've just got it set up on the tap underneath. That's only 50 litres, but that's enough for the both of us for all our washing. And you know, if we run out of water in the car, we drink out of that too with a filter. It seems to be keeping pretty well. That's the basic rundown of the external side of the cruiser. Crash pad, you know, bin bag, great bag. I have to say, yeah, it's been a good thing. And I've welded up a bit of a bracket for hold the high lift jack on. The good thing about having the bull bar and the steel rear bar and the side steps, you've sort of got anywhere to jack off when you need to. It's quick and easy enough to get it off. Yeah, that's the basic rundown on the outside of the car. It does have a GVM upgrade, actually 3660 kilos, so keeps it within our weight. You know, so other than that, it's been a pretty good thing. I'm pretty happy with the car itself. So yeah, this is our Bushbacker True Blue awning. It's been absolutely great over all the travels we've done. These are the Cruiser Company Gold Wing windows, so not a bad price what they are, and it's easy enough to fit. If you ever want to go back to the factory windows, it's another thing. We just use this side for pretty basic storage. It's got our hoses and fittings and a filter that we use to fill up the water tank under the car, as well as we keep 15 litres in the car. There's a tub and a bucket and pumps and all hose accessories kept in a couple of bags, pegs for the walls for the awning, shower from Kick-Ass, which has been a beauty. It's managed to hang on for quite a while and gone through some rough roads.
This is our pantry. It's been upgraded from last year. Dennis installed these before we left on our trip. So storage at the top for small containers, jars, everything like that. Got a couple of these tubs, which are also good. Storage, spices, everything down the side there, oils, milks. And the pantry actually goes all the way down, so we have potatoes, pastas and everything down the bottom.
So this is the Waco center console fridge that we have. We do use it as a freezer mainly, just keep frozen veggies and a bit of chicken and fishing bait and that sort of stuff in there. Yeah, in the back it is a bit of a mess. We do live here, so I apologise for that, but in the back we have bags on the back of the parcel shelf that we had installed, that I installed. You know, I keep fishing reels and stuff there. There's, you know, some of the Rahel stuff there, and I'm not even sure what's in that one. The fishing rods get kept in this tube up the top. I saw it on another page, I can't remember who it was, but I thought it was a brilliant idea to just hang up a couple of hockey straps across the roof, so we can hang the hats up without them getting crushed under everything. But we do have a lot of stuff in here. We've got the drone and the laptop and, you know, bag, and we've got tools down here on the bottom with the water. One of the things that has made it awkward to pack this year is because in Western Australia, a chemical toilet is actually quite a big thing over here. You have to have a chemical toilet to camp in a lot of places in Western Australia, so, and you will be checked. So if you do plan on doing the west coast of Australia, I recommend carrying something like that. That is probably the smallest one you can buy. It's only a 10 litre toilet, but anyway, that's what we've got. Otherwise there's just bags and just what we live out of while we're here. So in the back of the 76 we've got ARB rear drawers which came with the car. I modified them a little bit to suit the side covers. So with the cupboards I've made it so we've got storage all the way down to the bottom of the floor on both sides and over the wheel arches, so utilise all that space we can. These bags we just bought them from Grab Me Gear. Can't remember what they were, but they were cheap enough. And we've got the K-On rear parcel shelf and top shelf where we keep things like blankets, the walls for the awning, toilet paper and accessories, electrical goods, a spare rain jacket. We keep the Weber in the bag. On this shelf here, I always like to cover my barbecue. There's not anywhere I go without it. And then we've got our cooker as well, which is a Coleman Hyperflame, and works really well in all the windy conditions that we've had. It's never cut out on us in the windy weather or anything like that. Two of the Black Wolf chairs, they sort of pack up quite small for what they are. They're not super big, super small, but they're comfy enough. The angle, I've had the angle for years. It's just on the MSA drop slide. It's been there for however many years now. The fridge has never turned off since I've had it. It's been in there since I've owned the car. Made a little rack for the back there for when I need to bust up a bit of wood, I suppose. And other than that, you can't go wrong really. The 5-foot lifetime table sort of packed away there neatly. And everything's sort of within reach to grab. Everything else sort of comes out nice and easy. Front runner drop down table. I do use this a bit, especially when I'm filleting fish and stuff like that. I've also made it so it's got a little bit of extra room in the doors. Sort of just made up the panel myself and I cut it up and paint it up and put it in there, and just where we keep all our washing and staples. On this side, we'll chuck whatever in there that's handy at the time. Toilet paper, paper towel, whatever fits in there at the time, but we do use both the sides. Trying to utilise as much space as we can. Right in the drawer we keep all our cooking utensils. Got a deep pan, a shallow pan. Jet boil is probably one of the handier things we've got in there. Use this just about every day. Can't go wrong. All our cutlery and everything else is sort of packed away under there. In the back there. This side I used to all my basic tooling. This is probably the heaviest drawer in the whole car, but it's got everything we need. We've got our air pump, we've got a reciprocating saw because we don't have the room to carry a chainsaw, jumper leads, basic tooling, spare bolts, spare belts and hoses and everything we need for the car in case something does go wrong. So far any little issues or anything we've ever had, managed to get on top of it. Yeah, that's that.